The following program is intended for mature audiences.
TBS, America's #1 independent television network, presents the following sports exclusive.
You're listening to Basically a Sports Show.
Follow us on Twitter at Basically Sports.
Subscribe to our podcast on iTunes.
And check out every episode of the show at basicallysports.tumblr.com.
Now here's your hosts, Zach,
Greg, Mike.
And you're listening to Basically a Sports Show.
The absolute worst!
About some organic,
right,
like tofu roll or something. I don't know.
They're called Amy's. Amy's pizza rolls.
In 7 years of this show, if it's built on one thing, if you had to say it was built on one thing, it would be Totino's pizza rolls. Simple.
The core pillar of our mission statement.
The one constant in the entire 7 years of the show are those pizza rolls. Mike's out there screwing around.
Who was hosting? Who was not hosting? What time of the year it was? GTOV sponsor or not?
Right. And here's Mike out there cheating on Totino's the way he was, as people do.
Or as Dennis said, was pulling a Hulk Hogan NWO move.
Right. I love when you said
World Organization of Pizza Rolls.
I love when you said you rip open your shirt and there's a
there's like an 80s organic Pizza Rolls logo.
Yeah.
Mike turns heel on Bass.
Did a total heel turn with the pizza rolls, man. I can't believe it. Oh.
I've said it before. I don't even want money. If Totino's wants to sponsor us, I don't even want money. Just give us free pizza.
Right, like a couple of those cheap broke ass dollar pizzas and a couple boxes of pizza rolls. I'm happy. Yeah. I will talk them up something fierce if they would do that. Be like, now it's time for the Totino's pizza roll, NFL, whatever, you know?
Yeah.
Every bit of the show is for sale for anybody that's out there and interested. We will take sponsorship on anything you want to sponsor. Doesn't matter what it is, from the open to the close and everything in between. Anyway, I thought to get us started, I have a pop culture question for you guys. Has anyone seen the new Tarantino movie yet?
I
have.
Okay, I have not. So what do we think?
I think it's good.
Okay.
If you go in expecting constant Tarantino-ness, with like quiffy conversations,
it's not Pulp Fiction.
Yeah,
right.
I mean, it's Pulp Fiction for like 30 minutes, but basically what it is the first 2/3 of the movie are very much a love letter to the glory days of Hollywood.
Right.
The late 60s, the driving around town, driving down Sunset, listening to the radio, sunshine, movies, all that sort of stuff. Golden age of Hollywood sort of idea.
The era that I said I would move to if we could time travel on the Ask Us Anything show. Yeah.
Exactly. And if that's truly your wish to time travel, I think you'll love this movie because the large majority of the first 2/3 of the movie I love a good LA driving movie, and this is definitely that. Just long, drawn-out scenes of people driving through LA, not even talking to each other necessarily, just listening to the radio, seeing the sights go by, just kind of taking everything in. A lot of people will say that for 2/3 of this movie, there's not a point to it. There's no driving plot.
This is what I read about it. Okay, someone said that exactly that. For the first 2 hours of the movie, there's no point. It's just conversation and driving around, and it's delightful, is the way they described it. Yeah.
No, it's brilliant because Zach's right. It is a love letter to this era of Hollywood, and that's what makes the first 2/3 so good because it's just like you sit like what passes for a plot for the first 2/3 of this movie is just an excuse to sort of just enjoy the setting.
Yeah. That's what I found most appealing about the trailer was that it was such an authentic looking period piece, going back to that time and that era. Is that, that would have, like I said, that's where I would go if I could time travel. That's where I would be.
the thing that stuck out to me about like the atmosphere is the radio, because Tarantino literally went back and found some sort of log or whatever and was playing what would be on the radio on these specific dates in history.
Cool.
And so it's like, it's very specific as to what's going on, what's playing in the movie theaters, what books are being sold, what's going on in LA in 1968.
Zach, did you catch the radio ad at the end during the credits?
Oh yeah.
Mike,
yeah.
Mike, get your mic a little bit closer. You're really echoey there, bro.
All right, what about now?
A little more.
Now?
You're still kind of echoey. That's okay. We'll be all right. I like that, the degree of research that would go into something like that. That's really cool. Because I noticed on the soundtrack, the band Paul Revere and the Raiders, or on the trailer, excuse me, Paul Revere and the Raiders, and I'm like, God, I'd forgotten all about those guys, but they were big. They were big back then.
Tarantino's always great with the music in his films, and this is another one that just knocks it out of the park with the soundtrack. The thing about it, though, is while the first 2/3 of it has no point, we literally can't spoil the movie by, like, if you talk about what the point of this movie is, you're spoiling the whole thing.
Well,
because
I'm
definitely pulls a trick on you at the end.
I'm going to probably spoil it because this is just a guess, and nobody, look, if you don't want to know the end, and I don't care if it gets spoiled because I think I already know what happens, so skip this part. I'm going to warn you ahead of time, but I think that it pulls an Inglourious Bastards and we get a rewrite of the Sharon Tate, Charles Manson history thing. Am I correct in that?
Yes.
Okay. So we need to go any more detail than that. I mean, really,
but I was like watching it and like I had avoided spoilers. Dude, like,
me too.
I love Tarantino movies, so I was just sort of going in spoiler free. And as like the movie starts to get a point to it, like as the plot starts to come together, I'm like, no, and then like.
It literally goes from just a smooth driving around, feeling out LA movie. Then they do a 6-month jump in time. And then literally every single second of the movie matters. And then the final 20 minutes is just like, what the fuck is going on?
It's so
like classic Tarantino in all the great senses for about 20 minutes.
It's so great. Like the ending, in fucking spoilers, but the ending has DiCaprio's character who's sort of like this washed up leading man.
Right.
And he's talking to Sharon Tate, who's his neighbor at the end. And he's like, yeah, no, some hippies just broke into my house and my buddy beat him up. And she's like, oh, were they trying to rob you? He's like, I don't know. They were probably just high on something.
Yeah, I mean, I think they kind of telegraphed that he's, because he did the same thing in Inglourious Bastards where he just completely rewrote, which is fine. I have no problem with that. And if you've got good dialogue and if it's just good movie making, it doesn't have to have a point or a firmly developed plot. Just be entertaining and be good. And I think that just based on what I've seen in the trailers and stuff, I can't wait to see it. Because I don't care if they do just drive around for 2 hours. It looks like it's a fun 2-hour drive, and that's the important thing,
Well, because beyond even just that part, DiCaprio knocks it out of the park. Pitt knocks it out of the park.
Oh, yeah. I mean, you've got...
they are so good.
They're so good in this movie.
Everyone
so good.
loves it.
Yeah. It's everyone playing their best hand. I don't think it's Tarantino's best movie by any stretch. I still love Inglourious Bastards.
Yeah, that's a good one.
But... yeah, I enjoyed it. My girlfriend had never seen any Tarantino movies before last week.
Oh wow!
So as like a quick crash course, we watched Pulp Fiction and Inglourious Bastards. She wasn't too into Pulp Fiction with the out of order storytelling. Loved Inglourious Bastards, and that because there was something happening all the time, whereas this one. There's not, so this one was a little bit lower, but I mean, I enjoy the hell out of it. It's a cool vibe for like 2 hours, and you get the right Wim Pow's pop at the end that you want. So
well, it's kind of, I mean, not to, I don't know. There's a lot of comparison between the two, but like you take like an Aaron Sorkin movie or a TV show where a lot of times it's just people talking, and they're not, and you're digging it because it's just well written, and not that these are like in any way similar. A Tarantino movie and Aaron Sorkin trying to two completely different things, but the same general principle applies where
Sure.
Tarantino can just go, I'm just going to drive around LA, play the radio, and do this, and it's going to be fucking awesome. And you're going to go, yep, it is.
Well, that's why I love Inglourious Bastards. Like the opening scene of that, the first 20 minutes where they're in that little French cottage.
Yep.
It's nothing but conversation.
Talking. It's just a conversation between two guys.
Yeah.
It's two guys talking, but it's the most tense film you will ever watch. And like the same thing in that movie when they go into the bar.
Yeah.
And like, up until the point where they, do the wrong finger gesture for the number 3. It's like you're just talking and talking, and like he has conversation down so well. That again shows up in this movie.
Oh, if we're gonna, you don't mind if we go out speaking the Kings, do you? I love that line.
But the thing about, like, I love anything that's like a period piece. I still have a PS2, and I will pop in Grand Theft Auto Vice City just to drive around. And so, just to like dig the whole like 80s aesthetic of like the pseudo Miami they made. So like the idea of like this movie is just like, for the first 2 hours, it's just like, here's like LA in the 60s. Enjoy. I'm like, I dig it. I'm into it.
Yeah, I mean, I was very young at that, like in the era, but I remember a little bit, like the late 60s, with the moon landing, and not that that's in the movie, but I remember like the radio vibe, with Paul Revere and the Raiders, a lot of the songs. I was like, God, I haven't heard these since I was, 6, 7 years old, but I just can't wait to see it. I mean, I was hooked the minute I saw the trailer, and with Tarantino, I think a lot of his stuff is great, but some of it I also find annoying a little bit. So I'm not like a fanboy of his. I honestly, my favorite Tarantino movie is the one he didn't write, Jackie Brown, which I think is just fucking a brilliant movie. Just, the bringing Pam Grier back like that and resurrecting, well, I don't know if it resurrected her career. I never saw her again after that, but I like that one. I love Inglourious Bastards. Pulp Fiction was weird for me because like I loved it when I first saw it, and I like it a little bit less every time I see it. And I don't know why that is. Not to say that I don't like it, but I find more problems with it as I watch it more.
Pulp Fiction is one of my all-time favorite movies.
Yeah, me too. But I don't, when I say things I don't like about it, I mean, there's just little things where I go, wow, I bet you he wishes he could have that to do over again now.
I think Pulp Fiction's odd upon rewatches, just because you get the conceit of what he's doing.
Yeah.
And so, like, the first time you see it, you're like, what is he doing? What's going on? I'm so intrigued. And then you kind of know, so you're just kind of waiting for your favorite scenes to pop up.
Right.
Because that's the thing with Pulp Fiction. I don't know if I like Pulp Fiction as much start to finish. Like, if Pulp Fiction was in order, I would probably love it more than I do with it being told out of sequence.
You know what? I hate to be like that,
I love
but
the individual scenes.
I agree with that. I'm not like one that's so slow and so dense that I can't follow a movie that's not sequence. But I think I would have liked it better too. And I'll tell you the thing that just ruins it for me every time is that fucking girlfriend of Bruce Willis's. It's like, you know what?
Oh, the French girl. Yeah.
Get out your gun and shoot her right now. Just fucking blow it out. It's a Tarantino movie. Why couldn't we have done that? Why couldn't, like, the first time she just started whimpering like a little baby, he just, like, fucking blew her head off and go, okay, well, that's that.
Is that a motorcycle? No, it's a chopper.
It's a chopper,
motorcycle? Baby, it's a chopper. But there's a motorcycle.
Yeah, fucking. She was so bad. But anyway.
I will say this. A movie of his that I really like that I don't see a lot of people talking about. I think it's kind of underrated. Hateful Eight.
I have not. I've got that queued up in Netflix. I haven't watched it yet, so I can't give you an opinion on that one. But you liked it, Mike?
Yeah, I liked it. Then again, I like westerns, so I don't know.
Yeah. What about Django Unchained? What did you guys think of that one?
I like Django, but I think Django, similar to Jackie Brown in a way, and definitely how he uses language in Reservoir Dogs and Pulp Fiction. It's a good movie. I just don't think it's Tarantino's movie to tell,
Yeah, right, right.
I get it, and he's strangely given a lot of leeway when it comes to black culture and black history and things like that. I guess because he's celebrating it in a way, but it's also like if this was handled any lesser than how he's handled them, it could very easily just be torn to shreds.
If you thought Bruce Willis, didn't show enough gumption by shooting his girlfriend, you get more than enough blood to make up for that at the end of Django.
Yeah. Yeah.
No, she just annoyed the shit out of me because she was such a horrible actress, and the character was maybe she was designed to be that way. I don't know, but I could have done without the whole Bruce Willis thing in Pulp Fiction. Really, the Gimp and all that stuff with Marcellus Wallace, that stuff was cool. But the girlfriend and that shit, the setup, we didn't need it. Didn't need it. The box, but anyway,
it's not connected to anything else that happens because technically it's the thing that happens last, and it doesn't have Travolta or I guess Travolta dies in that part. I guess,
he does.
But
I was so bummed when that happened to him. Like, oh my god, they killed Vincent Vega. No, but
and then you realize it's halfway through the movie and you're going to see him again for.
But to me, you want to talk about tense scenes. The ending scene of Tim Roth and Samuel L. Jackson in the diner is mine's the one that says "badass motherfucker" on it.
Yeah.
What do you think's in the case?
It's a MacGuffin. It's nothing. It's just
gold bullion.
Yeah, it's just meant to be a thing. I don't think there's anything in there.
But that I find a little annoying too. Like, I get it that it's just there to have a thing. Like when people talk about MacGuffins in movies, that should be like the number one thing,
right?
Because it's literally nothing. You have no idea what it is. Just that it is something that people want, and that could change Tim Roth from a life of crime to bettering his life. I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, people have said it's Marcellus's soul, which is because he had a Band-Aid on his neck in some scene and some bullshit about. There's always some bullshit explanation for everything. If you have a Band-Aid on your elbow, it means this. No, it means I got a cut on my elbow, you dumb fuck. That's what it means.
Yeah.
But
the actor also had a scar on the back of his head that was being covered up by the thing, supposedly.
But there was a lot of great stuff in Pulp Fiction. But I just wondered if you guys had seen Once Upon a Time in Hollywood yet. And
his
a classic,
excellent movie.
Tarantino's biggest opening weekend of his career.
Yeah.
I will say, I just got this idea when because I had never considered this to be a genre, but when you said LA driving movie, I suddenly realized that very much is a genre.
Oh, definitely. Because movies are made by people that live out here, and you do a shit ton of driving when you live out here. It's just the way it is. It's a real cool movie.
I was just saying, specifically, Drake needs to do a Toronto driving movie, driving through the sticks with his woes.
Okay.
Anything in the wide world of sports you guys want to dive into? Because
I don't want to get into the whole trade thing in baseball too much, but I just want to point this out. The Mets made a trade with your Toronto Blue Jays, Mike, to get Marcus Stroman.
They did, yeah.
And I'm like, okay, why?
Right.
This is a good question.
I don't get. That's a trade I just look at and I go, wow, that is just so totally Mets. Like, what do you think he's going to be the difference? What? I don't understand it. What's the point?
Has anyone gotten Tank's take on this?
No, I don't even care. I don't want to know. I'd imagine it probably resulted in some sort of a blow up of some type, and God knows. But I just saw that trade and I went, that's just weird. I don't get it.
I'm just going like, thanks.
Right? Yeah.
Yeah.
They're like, what'd you get for him? You're like, I don't care. Whatever.
Yeah, no. We got. They took a player they don't need, and they gave us assets. Like, all right.
Yeah. I mean, I know a couple of years ago he was an up-and-coming pitcher, and he may still turn out to be something. But with the Mets, I don't see Marcus Stroman being the guy where all of a sudden he's going to catch fire, and a month from now we're talking about, wow, did you see what the Mets have done? I don't think that's going to happen.
I'm telling you right now, he's not going to be whatever they want him to be. I don't know.
Maybe he's exactly what they want him to be. Who knows? But I don't get it.
Who knows what the Mets want? Honestly, I don't know.
Boy, they're fast turning into the Knicks of baseball, kind of, aren't they? They always have great plans. They got good plans, but they never seem to work out. They just can't seem to put it together.
Color scheme. They got the right color scheme. Maybe the Islanders could move in with them, and the orange and blue New York teams.
Yeah, I think their home uniforms are probably my favorite in baseball, actually. But
the Mets?
Yeah, I really love their uniforms.
Okay, so this is an unpopular opinion.
Uh-oh.
But no, hear me out. I prefer the Mets NY to the Yankees NY.
Oh, so do I. I'm with you 100%. So we're both unpopular.
To the point that when I was like, 10 or 11, I actually had a black Mets cap.
Yeah.
I'm not a Mets fan. I'm not from New York, but I wanted one because I thought it was cool.
I have one that people mistake as a Mets cap. It's a black New York Giants hat, but but people mistake it for a Mets cap because it's got the same logo on it and the same NY. But no, it's actually a 1951 Giants hat. But yeah. But I like that NY better, too. That's not to knock the NY the Yankees use. That's a great look, but I like this one better. And I love their road uniforms, too. I'm not too crazy about any of their alts, but I like their primary home and primary road are two of my favorites, right up there at the top of the list.
When we went to New York last year, we were going to a Yankees Red Sox game, and my girlfriend was determined to get a Yankee hat for whatever godforsaken reason, and she's like, "Oh, I'm going to get a Yankee hat," and out of spite, I had to get a Mets hat because I can't. I just, as much as I respect the New York NY, never buy a Yankee hat. I just wouldn't be able to do it.
It's funny because being a uniform dork like I am, and I love that Yankees hat. I think it looks great. But I have, and you can ask my girlfriend about this. I go through this about every 3 years where I go, I'm going to do it. I'm going to get a Yankees hat. And then I talk myself right out of it. But I'm like, I'm going to do it because I don't care. I like it and blah, blah, blah. And then I'll take it and turn the whole argument against myself. And it's like this whole little melodrama plays out in about 15 minutes.
See, I don't quite have that, but like there will be periods where if I'm going through like a Lids or something, or I'm going like any place that sells like caps and I see a Yankees hat, like I contemplate it for a minute.
Yeah.
And I'm like, nah. And the thing is that like go to hockey. In my opinion, the Montreal Canadiens red sweaters are some of the, if not the best sweaters in the NHL. And they're very historic. They're great looking. They have a lot of legacy to them. I believe that they are one of, if not the best. And if anyone suggests changing them in any significant way, they should immediately be fired. But do I own one? No.
No.
I will never buy a Montreal Canadiens sweater.
No, same. Like me with the Kings, because like in theory, I would like to have one jersey from every team, with whatever I believe is my favorite jersey of that team. Every time it's like, okay, well, what would I get for the Kings? Oh, and then
That's a tough one.
It's like, do I even want it? Is kind of my problem too, because it's like some of these I do own like a few other teams' jerseys, and I wear them for certain other occasions. I could never think of one single reason I would ever wear a Kings jersey on purpose, unless I lost a bet, And it's like, well, I could get the purple and gold ones because I have really no animosity towards those. But it's still Kings jersey, and maybe get Gretzky because he's the greatest player of all time, but also gross.
Yeah, if you're going to do Gretzky, you got to do Oilers anyway. Besides,
what about? There's two options I can see that could be somewhat acceptable. Either the black, silver, and purple ones from when they sucked, like
my girlfriend had that jersey for a while.
The Felix Potvin era Kings, or alternatively. You go like full crazy and get a Burger King jersey.
That was my other thought, is to get like the worst one of all time.
And just be like, one, it's really not honoring the Kings. You bought their worst jersey as a lark.
Yeah.
And two, it's interesting. If nothing else, it's like kind of just a cool thing to have.
My thing is that
it's definitely the last one I will ever complete my collection with is a Kings jersey.
I see, like, I have a problem. Like, there's a lot of Steelers stuff that I think this looks really good. I love that the helmet sticker logo, the one of the Steelers thing with the 3 U.S. Steel based on. I love that. One of my favorite logos. And it's like, God, this stuff is so cool. And they make great hats, but I can't get any of that. And it just kind of sucks because it's just like I like the look of a lot of it, but I simply can't bring I would never do it. I mean, I might as well go out and buy Michigan stuff, which is another one. where I look at it and go, I love Michigan stuff. Their stuff looks really good, but I can't do it, you know?
Yeah. I would never be caught dead wearing anything U of A.
Yeah, you know what I mean? Like, but Michigan, like they did those crazy jerseys with I forget what year it was, a few years back. They were really cool.
With all the stripes and the M on the front?
Yeah, and I thought those were really sharp. And I thought if I wasn't an Ohio State fan, I would wear one of those. But, so it's not like I don't hate the Steelers or Michigan as much as you probably hate the Kings. So it's a little tougher for me. It's more like just a philosophical thing. Like, okay, I mean, I don't like either team, but I don't hate them so much that I would be like, I'll never be caught dead wearing it. It's more like, well, as cool as I think this stuff looks, I just can't do it. I'm not allowed. So I have to, figure out and find stuff, try to dig through the pile of heaping garbage that is Browns merchandise these days and try to find something that is not entirely terrible.
Their uniforms after next season.
Yeah, I know. And the more I hear about it, the more nervous I get.
But the helmet will remain unchanged.
Yeah, they were talking a white helmet for a while there, and I thought, why would you do that? But like the Otto Graham helmet, and it's like that was like 1951. It was white because nobody thought to paint them back then. That's why. But anyway, I forgot how the fuck did we end up on this topic anyhow? How did we
were talking about baseball.
Right. Yeah. Well, anyway, back to that trade. I don't know what the Mets were thinking.
Yeah. I mean, again, thanks.
Yeah. Right. Yeah. Exactly.
I think, and with probably the most interesting thing I saw in baseball this last week, did you see Bauer against the Royals
throw the ball over the center field fence?
Yeah.
Yeah, that guy, he's a nut, man. I mean, I've known this for a few years now. I saw him do stupid baby shit like that when he was I went to see the Clippers play, to see the new stadium, Huntington Field. And he happened to be pitching that day, and he was down for a rehab assignment or whatever from the Indians. The guy, there's something, I don't know about him, but, Mike Francesca caught a bunch of flack because who wanted to trade from the Yankees or the Mets? I don't remember. Yankees. He's like, don't bring that guy here. He's a head case, blah, blah, blah. He is a head case. Yeah. I've seen it in person.
Do you see what we're talking about, Mike? The throw over center field fence?
No, I completely missed that.
He got pissed.
What happened was he gave up like 8 runs over 5 innings or something like that. So Terry Francona is about to take him out, and he takes the first step out of the dugout. Trevor Bauer, this is at Kauffman Stadium in Kansas City, from the mound, is so pissed of how he's pitched and that he's going to be taken out that he turns around and just fires the ball from the pitching mound over the center field fence.
Yeah.
That's impressive.
I agree. It is, yeah.
It's petulant as all hell, but that's also very impressive.
I agree.
Yeah. So it's just so funny to watch the video, too, because the Indians second baseman sees what's happening and kind of freaks out and ducks. He's like, oh, shit. There's a Royals guy on second base that also sees it and also tries to duck out for cover. And the catcher just kind of keeps staring back at him and then turns back to the umpire like, hey, we need a ball. We need a ball now.
See, that's
okay, I'm watching it now, and it's
yeah, right. A hell of a throw.
Yeah,
but that's the enduring enigma that is Trevor Bauer. When he's on, he's a really, really good starting pitcher, and he's on more often than he's not. But he does a lot of strange things. Like I don't know if he still does it, but he used to when he'd warm up on his 8th warm up pitch. He would stand out the mound and take 4 or 5 steps and throw the ball as hard as he could to the catcher. Not a warm-up pitch, but just fire it, kind of like he did with throwing it over the center field fence, except at the catcher, where he would just try to throw the ball as hard as he could at him. And it was I don't even get what that's about. But he's always had this reputation as being a little wound a little too tight. And I think we saw a good example of that yesterday. So, or was it yesterday when that happened? Right? Yeah. Or Saturday? I don't remember.
It was Saturday or something.
But yeah, I did see that. So I don't know. The trade thing, it's heating up, and we'll see what happens. But I do like. What do you guys think about having just the one? That's it. After the 31st, you can't do waiver deals or any of that shit anymore.
Oh, I prefer that.
I do too. I think it's great because
I remember before I kind of knew how any of this worked. You'd be sitting there, and it's September, and it's a trade has been made. It's it has?
Yeah.
Wasn't there a deadline? What the hell?
Right.
And it's the waivers, and it's just confusing. Just make a straight trade deadline like everybody else has.
It's a hard deadline after the 31st. Yeah, I never understood it either. It's like, well, now if you send them through waivers and nobody else claims them, you can make the deal. Well, all right, then why even have a deadline? Why have the July 31st deadline then if that's the way you're going to do it?
Because baseball is old and has a lot of really old rules that nobody's thought to really change.
They are. To their credit, to its credit, baseball is trying to fix itself. I mean, it's got a long way to go, but they are making efforts with like the one trade deadline and having to face a certain number of batters, relief pitchers, and all that. But I don't want to go down that rabbit hole again. But they are making an effort, so that's nice. But I honestly, right now, I know the Dodgers are having a really good year. I think
I'm pulling up the standings right now.
Let me see if I can even tell you all the first place teams. I bet you I can't.
Okay, what league do you want to go in?
I already got the Dodgers. I know they're leading the National League West by like 30 games or something. It's a
14 and a half games over the Giants. Yeah.
I think the NL Central is pretty tight, if I remember right.
Yeah, there are 3 teams within 1 game.
I don't know who's in first. Maybe is it the Cubs or the Cardinals?
Both.
Okay.
They are tied. They're 56 and 49.
They're tied, which fucking Cardinals just die.
Yeah, they never go away, man. The Brewers are in that mix too, right?
Yeah, the Brewers are a game out. So those are your wild card teams
and then,
as well. Them and the Nationals.
And then the Reds and Penguins are just
the Penguins.
Sorry, not the Penguins.
Well, I don't know if the Penguins would be really any that much worse, honestly. Although that kid Josh Bell for the Pirates turned out to be a pretty good player. In the National League East, I'm pretty sure it's the Braves.
Yes,
because I heard somebody talking. I was talking about that on the radio the other day.
Braves are up 5.5.
Now the American League's where it gets tougher, and this is weird because I'm in an American League city, but American League
shouldn't be that tough.
American League West, it's probably Houston, right?
Yeah, Houston by
comfortable margin. Everyone else is trash.
American League Central, the Twins had a big lead in the American League Central, but I think the Indians have chased them down.
Yeah, Twins are still in first. Indians are 2 games back.
Okay.
And then everybody else.
And in the East, it's the Yankees, right?
Correct.
Yeah, I guess I know a little more than I thought I did.
And they have a pretty good lead over the Rays and Sox with 8.5. And right now the wild card goes as such. In the American League, Cleveland is the first wild card team. They have a 3-game lead over Oakland, who's in that second spot, with Tampa Bay a half game behind Oakland. The Red Sox a game behind Oakland, and the Angels 5 games back.
Yeah.
And then in the National League, the Cubs and Cardinals are tied for the division as well as the first wild card. The Nationals have the same record as they do, so there's a 3-way tie for first for the wild card teams. And then you have the Phillies a game behind, and Milwaukee a game behind. The Giants are 2.5 back, and the Diamondbacks are 3.5.
Yeah, and the Giants they started out pretty bad this year, but they've been on this incredible roll lately, and they've gotten back into the race.
Yeah, well, I mean, think about that. The Giants are 2.5 games out of the wild card, but they're also 14.5 games behind the Dodgers.
Yeah.
Dodgers are just blowing everybody away right now.
Well, hold on. I was in mid-drink there. If the Dodgers don't win it this year, what do you do? I mean, this is because the odds are they're going to go to the World Series for the 3rd straight year.
In theory, I mean, because there's a Cardinals team hanging around, I won't say that for sure.
Right? Yeah, the Cardinals are kind of like the Patriots light, like they're the poor man's Patriots.
Yeah,
like as long as they're around, nothing's definite. As long as they're around.
Quadruple Jesus is always there to knock a few fingers.
Don't forget about Vintage Doug.
Vintage Doug, rookie Doug's having a strong,
September call-up Doug.
September call-up Doug can always make waves.
September call-up Keith.
Right,
yeah.
Call-up Keith, yeah.
Yeah, and like the 2 or 3 Mats, they're always there.
They're always, just producing, so it's, you can never count the Cardinals out.
They're the Patriots, like the pocket Patriots. They're like, as long as they're there, you never know. They're
somehow less interesting because, like, at least the Patriots have like Tom Brady, who, say what you will about him, at least he is like a transcendent talent and like a big name. But like, who?
Paul Goldschmidt is on the Cardinals now.
Okay, good for him.
That's the only. I honestly, God, Yadier Molina and Goldschmidt are probably the only two Cardinals I can name right now.
Matt Carpenter.
Oh, Matt Carpenter, of course.
There's actually a Matt. Wonderful.
I think there's two. Is Matt Adams still there too?
I have no idea.
I don't know, but yeah. But see, what the Cardinals though, it's more like it's you never know. Like if the Patriots are in it, it's like, well, we know what's going to happen. The Patriots are going to win. But the Cardinals is more iffy. It's like, well, they could, but you're never sure.
But like the Cardinals, I'm still kind of not over that fucking fly ball that they got by
Atlanta
against Atlanta, and I think they won the World Series that year. Like
yes, they did.
They snuck in as a bullshit wild card team and then won in a bullshit way, and then they went on to win the whole World Series. It's just fuck baseball. It's like fuck baseball, man.
Was that 06, the year they did that? No, that was 11. That was 11.
Yeah, that was 11.
Yeah.
With the infield fly that was like a fly out to left field.
Yeah.
Right.
That was the year that the Rangers also, coughed it up in.
The Rangers were like one strike away from winning the World Series, and they couldn't.
Man, you talk about a gut punch, and that, I mean, nobody cares because it's the Rangers, but that was tough. But if you said sit down and name 30 major league teams, I get to 29 and forget the Rangers every single time. They're just so completely irrelevant to me.
And they're getting a new stadium, even though they don't need one.
Yeah.
So fuck them.
Yeah, right, exactly. But yeah, that's about it on the baseball front.
There is one more baseball thing I wanted to talk about. Not so much standings, but what do you guys think of this push to get Major League Baseball to Raleigh, North Carolina?
Oh, for fuck's sake! I saw that on the board. I thought somebody was just joking.
Nope.
And then I saw it's a real thing. Have you guys ever been to Raleigh, Durham, North Carolina, the quote-unquote research triangle?
Never in my life.
Have no plans to either.
I forget who brought up the point, don't let the population fool you, in that thread, but that is so dead on the money right. Don't let there is spread out is a nice way of putting it, I guess, but there's like no there, if that makes any sense. It's like everything is just all over the place. There's no centralized...
it's just a sprawling suburb. If you're going to put a team in Carolina, just go to Charlotte. At least Charlotte's a real city.
Yep.
Wasn't that where, if there was going to be an MLB team in the Carolinas, I thought Charlotte was the place that people were.
Yeah.
It would have to be because.
Well, no. Everyone has always had, like, anytime you have this, anytime people talk baseball expansion or relocation, Charlotte was always on the short list. It's always like Charlotte, Portland, Montreal, like Vancouver. Those were always like Vancouver. Those are always the big ones. And then out of nowhere, just over like the last like month or so, there's been this push for Raleigh, and I'm like, why?
Yeah.
Like, not only is it a bad choice on its own, but it's not even the best choice in its own market. Again, like, if you're going to put a team in North Carolina, go to Charlotte.
The only thing it has going for it over Charlotte is that the team would only be competing with the Hurricanes and not the Panthers in the NBA. That's one advantage it has. But other than that, having been to both places and spent an extensive amount of time in both places, it's not even a contest.
Well,
Raleigh, Durham is it's here's the thing too. The population base you're going for is, which I guess is the people with money, they all live in the suburbs down there, which are not like, okay, we just crossed out of Raleigh proper into a suburb. No, the suburb's like 30 miles away. It's like in little towns called like Cary and Apex, these little towns that are in between, and I forget what the interstate is that runs in between Raleigh and Durham. But that's where all the money is in between. So, neither city has like a population base. They're both like crime-ridden, low income. Both cities are not great, and I don't know. It's just a horrible idea. I'm still trying to get past how they ever got a hockey team to go there, but it's just a bad idea. Raleigh Durham. It just
they got a hockey
work.
team to go there because the guy who owned the Whalers couldn't put a second team in Detroit.
Yeah. His first choice to move the Whalers was the Palace at Auburn Hills.
Really?
Yeah, and the league had to tell him, like, you can't fucking move into the same city as the Red Wings.
Does he get like the team he'd be competing against too? I mean, say what you want about the Red Wings, but
that's also
especially
why
back then,
the Hurricanes are red, because he wanted them to be the Red Wings.
Yeah, the guy was from Detroit, so like he got this huge.
He wanted to own the Red Wings, but was never going to be able to.
And so he wanted to move them to the Palace of Auburn Hills. And again, like, this isn't just the Red Wings. This was like the Red Wings at the height of their like 90s ascendancy. Like, it would have been, that would have ended so badly.
Yeah. He has like a bantam hockey team program that he owns that is red and white.
Wow.
Michigan.
We talked about this when they changed their uniforms, but they showed concepts, and one of them was literally just the Hurricanes logo on the Red Wings jerseys. And it's like, what are you doing, guy?
Yeah, Karmanos was something else,
and he's in the Hockey Hall of Fame.
I think a team in Raleigh just doesn't work. It's just because you're probably thinking they're going to draw from the whole area, and it's so spread out. The traffic's terrible. It's even though it would be in Raleigh, nothing feels centrally located there. I guess the point I'm trying to make. Like, everything is like, if you're here, what you want is always somewhere else.
Right.
No matter where you are, what you need is always somewhere else.
Any area that's designated as a triangle,
right,
that means that like the centers of influence are at each point of this triangle.
Yeah.
So unless you're in the middle of it, it's like, what's the point?
Yeah. So I mean, this is baseball. They're not taking this thing seriously, right? I mean, they can't be serious.
They haven't announced. They haven't acknowledged it. I don't think.
Yeah.
Honestly, I think they might just be, and this is just me spitballing, but they might just be looking at like the Rays situation and being like, hey, if both Tampa and Montreal tell you to get fucked, we're here.
I don't know that this is going to sound, this is unbelievable to me, but I think the Rays would be worse off in Raleigh than they are in St. Pete. If you can imagine.
As far as I'm aware, and maybe I'm off base here, but as far as I'm aware, the Charlotte Knights, Charlotte's minor league team, they draw pretty well. Like, they are one of the more well-supported minor league teams. And again, I might be off base here, but I think they recently renovated their stadium and like it can be expanded.
I think they just built a new stadium within. I mean, not like the last year, last two, but it's pretty recent, isn't it?
And I think, and again, I might be wrong, but I think the Knights Stadium was built with potential major league expansion in mind.
Yeah.
And so I don't know why you'd consider Raleigh, who they don't have a stadium. The only thing, if you go to the whole MLB Raleigh site, the campaign site, they have a bunch of splash pages that show potential sites to put stadiums in. And it's like, congrats, guys. I can look at Google Maps of a suburb and find, a
There's a big field. There's a big field with nothing in it. We can put a stadium there.
Yeah, I don't know.
You're right, Mike. The Charlotte Knights, I just looked it up. Number one in minor league baseball attendance. They drew 619,639 fans last year for an average of almost 9,000 a game. In minor league baseball, that's really, really good.
Exactly. So, why would you put a team in Charlotte's a city, so it's got a centralized location. It's like a centralized area. Why would you not go? Why would you go to a sprawl that is Raleigh over a centralized city, a bigger city, probably a bigger media market, and a place that has a proven track record of supporting baseball?
Durham, which is the other one of the corners of the triangle, which is due west of Raleigh by about 30 miles. Well, it looks like about number 12 or 13 on the list with 536,000. And I made this point in the thread. I said that if baseball was going to expand or whatever, it would be better. We've talked about it 1,000 times on the show that you want to do the thing like Oklahoma City, where you're the only game in town. And I said that a city like El Paso would be a better choice than Raleigh. And here we go. The El Paso Chihuahuas draw about 8,000 a game. So,
you know what? I turn out every goddamn game for a team called the Chihuahuas.
Fuck yeah, I would too. Well, that's nice to see. My Columbus Clippers are 5th in attendance. Yes, this surprises me. The Indianapolis Indians, that'd be another good spot for baseball expansion, except it's probably too close to Cincinnati. But they're number 2. That surprises me a little bit.
Yeah, I would think Indianapolis has a couple problems just based on how baseball used to work, back in the day, where they're stuck in between so many different teams that
right, yeah.
everybody in that town is either a fan of one of those 5 different teams that you can
They are within shouting distance of Cincinnati, Chicago, St. Louis. Yeah, St. Louis is in the mix too. Yeah,
but I remember I've heard so many stories of the Cardinals radio broadcast traveling across the plain.
Well, they're on a 50. They're on a 50.
Fuck you, Cardinals.
Well, no, there's
a
a reason.
Very strong radio signal back in the day.
I'm aware.
And it's flatland. And if you were in the middle of fucking nowhere, you were scrolling to the dial, you came upon a baseball game. It was going to be the Cardinals.
Here's a couple other teams. The Indians did that too. They were on. They still are, as a matter of fact. It's WTAM now. It was called 3WE back in the day. And at night, they would do contests like we're going to get, call in from the furthest away. And one night, a guy from Montana called in. I'm listening to you guys in Montana, and I mean, so yeah, when you've got AM 50,000 watt clear channel, which means no other station in the entire country is on your frequency, sure, you're going to have some carry. And KMOX is a 50,000 watt, boy, try saying that fast, a 50,000 watt clear channel station. So of course they've got a huge signal. They're right dead set in the middle of the country. So yeah, they're going to go all over the place. That has nothing to do with the Cardinals. That's just, being lucky that you got a powerful radio station in the right spot.
I'm taking the piss on the Cardinals because fuck them and their mythologized existence. Oh, we traveled across the plains and we united America with baseball.
What about Albuquerque as a spot for baseball?
No?
I'm just saying. I'm looking at these top attendance things in minor league baseball.
The ABQ? Come on.
No, seriously. You don't think that? I mean, they've got as far as population goes, they're bigger than Cleveland.
The day that a major league franchise plays in New Mexico is the day we run out of places to put major league franchises.
Yeah, you're probably right about that. But San Antonio, I went through it all on the thread, but I think El Paso is a better choice than Raleigh, and I believe that.
Yeah, and I mean, you're not going to get expansion to any of these places.
No,
it's you're just hoping and praying on something goes awry in Oakland, or Tampa finally gives up the goat, or the Marlins go to somebody that's less apathetic about it, I guess. The Marlins, because really those are the only spots.
The Marlins have everything. Well, they have 2 problems now. Well, 3. They got a lot of problems, but 3 of them are easily solved. Get the right ownership, and this crew with Jeter and that bunch wasn't the right ownership.
That joyless fucking killjoy, man.
Yeah,
God damn it.
And fix the uniforms, and you'll be okay. I mean, I think that if they were good and competitive, they would draw, because when they would accidentally win the World Series, people wouldn't watch them play in the football stadium, for Pete's sake. So,
yeah, but the problem is that every time they accidentally win the World Series, ownership just trades the entire team for
they've got to find
baseballs.
Yeah, that goes on to the baseball's bigger problem, though, which is they've got to come up with a way to stop a team like the Orioles. I mean, if you're an Orioles fan, we talk about this in the NBA too, but if you're an Orioles fan, why did you even bother this year? What the fuck are you looking forward to? You knew your team was out of it before spring training started. I guess, right? Yeah. So that's a problem. But anyway, the Raleigh thing is a bad idea. But Charlotte, I'm looking at it, and I mean, they're drawing 9,000 a night to minor league baseball in Charlotte in the summertime. That's pretty good. It's pretty good.
Yeah. No, there's cities that make sense, but not Raleigh.
No.
If you're going to go to North Carolina, go to Charlotte.
Yeah, I agree.
And even what you said earlier, Greg, about them competing with teams. It's the summer; they're not competing with anybody.
Yeah,
I guess that's true. It's just you just saw how well it worked in Oklahoma City, because they were the only Big Four team in town.
Yeah, And that's, I mean, you say the same thing about the Golden Knights in Vegas too. Like, you know, you're the first one in there, you're the only one in there, like Oklahoma City.
The
like,
Raiders are coming.
Right. Well,
I find it hysterical that the Knights, you know, that they're already competitive. Because we were talking like, when the Raiders get there, that's going to be it for these guys. Except I don't think that's the case now. No. I think it's going to be the Raiders have to come in and like go, okay, we're playing number 2 to a hockey team, which I just find hilarious. I think that is just too funny.
I think it's going to be interesting to see how that works, though, because like the Knights kind of went in on a win now kind of situation, and it didn't pan out. So,
well, but here's the problem with the Raiders, Mike. They're the Raiders.
Yes.
Yeah,
yes.
that's right. God.
John Gruden is there for the next millennium. So,
look, man, I'm all in on that. I'm all in on Hard Knocks.
Hard Knocks next Tuesday.
I was just going to ask, when's our first episode?
Next Tuesday.
Next Tuesday, Raiders Hard Knocks. I'm there.
You know what we should do, guys? We should live watch that and do the show that Tuesday and watch the episode as we're doing the show. That'd be kind of hard to do. Maybe we do it right after the episode. Do the show right after the episode.
I'm not opposed to that, actually.
Yeah,
I'm down for that. I so want it to be treated like a TV show where like the big twist at the end of the first episode is John Gruden announcing his new offensive coordinator, and it's Hugh Jackson, and it's just like yes.
Yeah, I mean the problem is we know that ahead of time. You know.
Yeah.
Because football camps are open, guys.
Yes, they are. Yes, they are. It's back, ladies and gentlemen.
You're ready for some football?
I'm actually going. I'm going to go up to a Browns camp next week just for the hell of it. Just for fun. Yeah,
nice.
Mostly to take pictures. I'm into photography, and I thought I've never done that, so I'll take a shot at it.
You might get lucky. You might be there to see Odell Beckham Jr. get struck by lightning.
Ooh! Imagine if I could capture that on camera. How about that, huh?
Yeah. And make sure after it happens that you stay around for the pack of feral cats to gnaw at his corpse.
Right. I mean, how great would it be if I was there and caught on camera the moment the Browns season went right down the tubes?
Hey, Odell Beckham Jr. had a great catch on day 1 of camp. So,
Jesus, God,
Is Cleveland local media losing their mind?
The NFL Network is losing its mind. It's like, really? You know, This NFL.
I was watching. I was watching some YouTube channel. I think it was some media outlet's YouTube channel, and they did a Madden simulation because the new Madden game just came out. The Super Bowl they simulated was the Browns and the Cowboys.
Okay,
that ain't gonna happen.
Okay,
both the Browns and the Cowboys were the number 1 seeds in the AFC and NFC.
Okay, guys, calm down, guys.
Right.
Calm down. Although, look, I laugh at that shit about like Odell Beckham Jr. making a great catch in day 1 of camp because like I'm a Leafs fan and Ontario media does this for the Maple Leafs, so it just makes me happy to know that like we're not the only ones.
Well, you know, the thing is, it wasn't just Cleveland that reacted to it. It was like the NFL Network and you're like, it was first off, that's
catch on day 1 of camp.
Yeah, not only that, but isn't that kind of what you're paying him to do?
It's like, guys, the wide receiver caught a football.
Well, no, I mean, between that and there was a big GQ profile on Beckham Jr. There was a big ESPN piece on the Browns and expectations and Baker Mayfield and everybody is all in on the Cleveland Browns.
And I got news for you. I mean, look, they're going to be better. There's no question about it. But realistically, we're looking at an 8-8, 9-7 season. That's what this team is right now.
Which, to be fair, could very much win their division.
Yeah, but it's not enough to put them in the Super Bowl against a Cowboys team that's going to go 9-7 too.
I think you're underselling them, Greg.
The Browns or the Cowboys?
Yeah, the Browns.
Okay.
I like the offense, and the defense is still pretty good. So
the question
I don't think that they're going to win 12 games or anything like that, but 9-7 might be a little low.
So I got 2 things to say about this. One, I have a question. Has the city of Cleveland painted over the LeBron James, Johnny Manziel mural to be Baker Mayfield and Odell Beckham Jr. yet?
Probably. I haven't been there in a while, but I'm sure they have.
You know, the God and Adam, like, figure touching mural. Also, I mean, yeah, we could quibble over how many wins the Browns are going to get this season. It doesn't matter. They're gonna fumble the ball in overtime of the AFC Championship game to the Patriots, and Tom Brady will effortlessly march the Pats down the field.
Yep.
And
Tom Brady will take John Elway's place as the guy that ripped our hearts out. It's just that's the only difference. But I don't know. I don't think they're going to be. I like it. I like that there are people out there and people that aren't just idiots, but some people that seem to know football that are like, hey, this team's a legit Super Bowl contender. That's great.
Look, day one in the Hunt graphic.
Yeah.
Day two, Super Bowl contender.
Right. But let's tap the brakes a little bit here. We, don't.
I mean, it is a rebuild, right?
Yeah.
And rebuilds don't happen overnight. And so last season was a step in the right direction. Once they got rid of Hugh Jackson, it's amazing how much better that team played as soon as Hugh Jackson was gone.
I think, but this is the NFL, and change happens very fast in the NFL.
Yeah.
Remember my Rams went from Jeff Fisher and garbage to Sean McVay.
But that
division championships.
But you look at that, and it's not like they went straight from Jeff Fisher to playing for the Super Bowl. There was that one year where before last season where they made it to the playoffs and then lost to the Falcons.
They were still 12-4.
Yeah, but my point is, I'm just saying it's not going to be a disappointment if the Browns go out in the second round of the playoffs this year.
Or if they don't even, if they look, the disappointment right now is like anything less than 8 wins. It's probably a disappointing season.
Yeah, and I Browns fans want them to make the playoffs at the very least.
Sure, I do. I want that too, but people forget a lot of turnover happened. I mean, they got a great roster, no question about it. We got a new head coach, new defensive coordinator, new offensive coordinator, the whole thing. And one thing that I am happy about is that the defense, we talked about it at the beginning of the season last year, the defense was playing great while the offense was terrible. And I think the defense kind of lost some of its mojo when Greg Williams got kicked up to be the head coach. And now maybe the defense will kind of get back on track. And with that offense and that defense, they could be very, very, very good. I mean, I'm just not ready to jump on the Super Bowl bandwagon yet because, first off, I've been here too many times in my life. I know better,
No. Well, I think I could easily see them getting over 8 because, honestly, there's a very good chance I think they could sweep their division because the rest of their division is
the rest of the division is going to be bad, no question about it.
So you could chalk 6 wins up right there, and then getting 2 more. I don't think I'm kind of with Zach. I think 8-9 might be underselling low. I'd put them anywhere between 8 and 10 wins.
Well, between 9 and 10, there's only a difference of 1 game there, So I'm not underselling them that much. But I mean, if they go 12-4 or 13-3 and get a number 1 seed, that'd be fantastic. I'm not saying it's not possible. I'm just saying that we might want to temper the expectations just a little bit around here because you still got a quarterback that's only going into his second year, his first full season as a starter. You got great wide receivers, pretty good running game. But when I look at them, I'm like, well, shit, why couldn't they do all this stuff? I mean, they're pretty good, really. And I'm not just saying this because they're the Browns, but is this not the fastest turnaround we've ever seen from 0-16 to being this good, this quick?
Well, 0-16's only ever happened twice. So.
Or even like a 1-15 or whatever, 2-14s, whatever. But you know what I mean?
That's the thing, though. 0-16 was preceded by 1-15. They've been building up a stable for a while now, just based on a crap ton of bad seasons in a row, and it's just all starting to hit at the same time.
Yeah.
Luck for them.
Personally, I kind of want them to not go all the way this year because they're stupid uniforms. They can win the Super Bowl. They've been saying that their new uniforms are going to be more classic. And if they fulfill that and they go with a really traditional, nice looking Browns look, then fine. They can win the Super Bowl after that. Just don't win the Super Bowl with your stupid pants that say Browns down the legs.
Well, Mike, that's exactly what's going to happen, though, because look at the Cavs. They finally win it, and they did it in what just might be the ugliest uniforms in the history of Cleveland sports.
The whole thing is look, Kurt, the drought is over. Cleveland is the city of champions, and it's LeBron James in a black T-shirt.
Right. With a big, giant, stupid C on it. Right, yeah. Exactly. Oh, my.
Hey, my Raptors beat the same team in the same arena wearing a jersey that said North. So
yeah, that's still not as bad. Not near as bad.
Maybe the Browns The Browns will get a black uniform with a giant orange bee on the front.
You only get to win the NBA championship these days. Like, if you're not the Warriors, you only get to win the NBA championship wearing your dumbest uniform. Like, that's
right.
just.
I think the Browns did get some sort of special permission from the NFL to wear their color rush uniforms a bunch this year.
Last I heard, they were still talking to. I don't know. Did it come?
I don't know if anything. They're trying to. I should say. They want to distance themselves from those stupid shit uniforms as fast as they can, and I don't blame them.
I find it hilarious that as soon as they're like actually allowed to, they're like, "Yeah, that was a mistake."
I think based on what the league has let the Rams do, I'm sure the Browns were like, "Hey, they wanted to use the better looking uniforms," and they said, "Okay, fine. Like, here, you can wear whatever you want, whenever."
See, this is where I'd be like, I'm a uniform fan. Obviously, I want teams to look their best. But like, if I were like football emperor or whatever Goodell's title is, I'd be like, no, you live with your awful decisions. You wanted your stupid contrasting stitching. You're wearing that shit till 2020.
That's right.
It burns.
You guys wanted this stuff. You're stuck with it. God, those stupid uniforms. Oh.
And I mean, it's like even the team realized it because they're like, yeah, we're going to go to a more classic look like the uniform you used to have. Okay.
Yeah, I found a T-shirt at Walmart of all places a couple days ago, and it was just a normal. It just said Browns football on it, and like with brown, it was like the Browns was like orange with a brown outline. And just brown, the football was just brown in a nice simple font. It was just a picture of the helmet. Really just a simple, nice, and I said, that's as close as I'm ever going to get to anything that looks halfway decent with this current look that they have. So I grabbed it, man. I'm like,
well, apparently part of this redesign is they're going to get a proper logo that's just not the helmet.
They got to go to the elf guy. I know he's not tough, and I know he's, because everything has to be. Everything has to look like it could kill you if it's a logo in sports these days.
Look, we're gonna get grandiose. They're gonna. It's going to
be angry elf with a football.
With a football, and it's gonna be fantastic. No, I know. Oh, sorry.
Well, no, I'm trying to think of like logos they would go with. I don't think they've embraced the dog stuff enough to make that something in the direction they go.
A lot of fans don't want the dog stuff because I know that's hard to believe, but they don't represent the entirety of the Cleveland Browns fan base.
I think the way to go is kind of one of the alternate logos they already have with the football and the bee.
Yeah, that's a good one.
I think that's the way you got to go if you're going to make a real logo.
That's my favorite Browns logo. The football with the bee in it.
It's the only thing that makes sense, really.
It's sharp. To me, it looks like it fits right in alongside like the Bears or the Packers logos.
Yeah.
So.
Mm-hmm.
And I hate helmet as logo. Like that's not good. Like the Rams do that with the throwback uniforms, and I don't know if I've expressed this on the podcast before, but like I refuse to buy one of those throwback hats because I don't want to be wearing a hat that has another hat on it.
I mean,
you know what I mean?
I mean, okay,
that's kind of weird to me. Like you're wearing headgear on a piece of headgear.
That is weird. I never thought about it like that, but you're right.
Yeah.
I kind of get to the point where it's like it's supposed to be throwback, but to me, the Rams logo, like the Ram head logo recolored in the old colors, looks perfectly fine.
It looks perfectly fine, but they've said that they're going to get rid of it.
Why?
They're getting rid of it in the redesign. I don't know. I think it's one of the things that works about the current look, but
yeah. I mean, you saw a bunch of people, switch to that logo in the classic colors when the move was announced, and I thought it looked really good. So.
Yeah, that Rams redesign is worrying me more as I get closer to it too.
I think the jerseys will be fine. I'm not, now that I know this part with the logo going away, I'm not so enthralled about that part. I have a feeling they're going to try to make their own LA monogram in some way. Because one of the things that in recent LA sports history that went over amazingly was LAFC's introduction into the marketplace the first thing they made was this LA monogram with the Art Deco and the wing, and it looks really cool. And they put it on a bunch of hats, and they tried to give them away as much as they could. It was the first piece of merchandise you could buy was this hat with the LA on it, and it made a huge impact when it came to marketing the team. I have no doubt that the Rams want to try to do something similar and get their own, hat logo out there for people to kind of express. It's also something the Chargers wouldn't have. So,
well, the Chargers did have an LA monogram until you people didn't appreciate its beauty and you mocked it into submission. And
it was a middle school project. That's what that looked like.
Oh, you thought it was that good, huh?
Yes, I'm gonna go to bat. It was really cool, and it could have been neat, and none of you gave it a chance
because it was a normally drawn LA with one thing offset to sort of look like a lightning bolt. Just not quality.
I mean, honestly, that logo was done as soon as both the Lightning and Dodgers dunked on it at once on Twitter. Like, at that point, there's no coming back.
It was. I'm trying to find it here really quick. This is kind of big. Hold on. I don't know that it was a whole lot better than this, Mike. To be honest, let me get back to the chat here. Jesus. And there we go. This is what it reminded me of, like your version of this.
Oh, God.
There were people that actually, they were actually talking about, I think that it was 64, 65. They almost went with that as a helmet logo. Believe it or not.
Boy.
Yeah, imagine that.
Wasn't it like the NFL said they had to introduce a helmet logo of some sort?
I'm not sure.
That was like
we're talking about. I'm sure logo geeks already know about it. But was the ridiculous CB that the Browns had on their helmets or were going to?
I think it was like the preseason only that they used it.
Did they? It's still debated whether they actually wore them in a game or not, and no one's sure. So
no, I think no one's been able to find photographic evidence, but you have people who were there who swear that they had it. So I don't know.
Yeah, I think we had a little Mandela effect going on with that, though. With the
but we at least know that the helmet they made them at least, but we just don't know if they wore them. I don't know.
I got to agree. I'm looking at it now. I think the B football logo is probably the best bet. Yeah.
I would, as much as the helmet is untouchable because it's been the Browns helmet for, all of existence, I wouldn't mind having just the block B on the side of the helmet as it is.
Yeah, I used to be totally anti-logo on the helmet, but I've kind of softened. If you can do it right, then go ahead,
I don't think they ever will, because if they've learned anything from this endeavor, it's to not touch the Browns uniforms if they can help it. But if you're gonna do it, that's the way I would do it.
Yeah.
But.
Okay, folks. On that note, we are going to wrap it up. As always, follow us on Twitter at Basically Sports. Subscribe via iTunes, Stitcher, Spreaker, and YouTube. Thanks for tuning in, and we will see you next week.
Later.
The second half of tonight's telecast has been brought to you by Imperial Oil Limited and Esso dealers, agents, and distributors serving your community. Tune in again next week